Today we'll be creating an illustration of a toucan, a tropical bird. Hi everyone, it's Miss Rebecca. Today we're going to create this cool painting of a bird or a toucan. You'll need markers if you have them, or you could use a watercolor set, or you could combine the two. You'll need a circle to trace, like this cup. So put that circle tracer right in the middle of your paper and hold it down. Then trace around it until you have a circle. Starting at the top of your circle, you're going to draw the beak of the bird. And that's with a slanted, curved line that curves down towards the front of the beak. And then it's just straight or horizontal across from the beak to the circle. Now on the other side of the circle, we'll start the body of the bird. The body is a shorter curve on the left side. And then on the right side, starting at the bottom of your circle, the curve comes down the opposite way. And if you notice, one side is a little bit shorter, this side here. Starting at the top of the head, you could just define it. That's the shorter side, and this is the longer side of your bird's body. Now we're going to draw the little feet. The feet, they look like they're tricky, but just try your best. What you're doing is making a series of curves with little toes. So you're making sure you overlap the second foot right on top of the bottom of the body there. And make sure to draw in those little toes and just do the best you can there. So it's a series of curves with little pointed toes. And that's all you have to do there. Now we're going to draw the branch. It's a long horizontal line that connects to the toes. So if you notice, it goes all the way from one side of your paper to the other. Two long horizontal lines. And it makes it look like the bird is sitting on a branch. The next thing we'll do is draw the tail of the bird with two diagonal slanted lines coming straight from the branch. And let the bird's tail go right to the bottom of your paper, and do a little erasing if you need to erase anything that doesn't look right or doesn't belong. Just like here. We don't need this part of the circle that we traced, so we're going to erase it. And then we're going to draw these two curves. So this is the bigger curve, and the next curve will be the smaller curve. There we go. And we're just going to connect the bottom there to that horizontal line of the beak. So that's the whole beak shape right there. Look at that. And then make sure that you add this slanted long line until the tip of the beak for the mouth. The eye is just a circle and a little tiny circle inside. And when we color it, it will be white. Now just follow the shape of the head to make this what looks like an eyebrow, and it connects to the bottom of the circle, and you can erase right inside there because you don't need it there anymore. Okay, and now we're going to do a series of curves. So right under the eye, you're also going to add a curve, or it looks kind of like a smile, doesn't it? And then on the beak itself, you also have two more curves. And then one large curve for the wing. And there we have our bird. Look at that. You also have to erase anything that doesn't look right. Make sure you do. Okay, now I'm going to draw a large circle and make sure the circle overlaps on top of that branch. Okay, just goes right on top of it. That's okay. That's going to be for a flower. And then we're going to make another circle that's on top, but also overlapping on top of the branch a little bit. but it's a little bit smaller than the last circle. We don't want them exactly the same size. And that's going to be for a flower as well. Now, in this negative space, or the space on top of your bird, we're going to add some leaves. So I'm going to add one big football shape right here. It's just a curve and a curve connected. And then I'm going to repeat that same shape, but this time make it a medium size, not as big. And the last one, the same shape, but small. So there are 3 football shapes or leaf shapes. Now on top here, I'm making this big rainbow line or a huge curve all the way to the top of my paper there. There, see that? So it starts at the top of the leaf and ends at the edge of the paper. Now starting at the center, the top, we're going to make these pointed, long shapes that radiate around the bird. So this is a different type of leaf, like a palm, and it kind of looks like arrows, doesn't it? Now that curve is just a guideline. We're going to erase it later, but it gives the shape of your palm. And then we're going to add these lines, cutting through the center of your football shapes just to make them look a little more like leaves. Perfect. And then we're going to start these beautiful flowers. So you're going to draw a little circle inside each one, just like that. And then we're making the petals. The petals can come from the middle and come around and touch the circle. The circle is your template. It'll get erased later, just to give you the shape of the flower's petals. So you can make like a heart-shaped petal. Your petals could be bunny ear shaped. It's really up to you. There's no right or wrong answer. As long as you stay inside that circle, it will probably look like a flower. So I'm making these heart-like petal shapes. And there we have my 2 tropical flowers. Now I'm going to erase those circles because those were just guidelines so that my flower can maintain a good shape. So I'm erasing the circle but keeping the petals that I drew. Okay, make sure you clean up your drawing and erase any guidelines that you don't need, just like I'm doing. Take your time. Okay, we're also going to be doing some erasing on the top. So remember that large curve at the top. Go ahead and erase it. You don't need that anymore, so just erase that. But keep your palms. You need those. You need those. Beautiful. Now, we have a little bit of negative space or blank space right under the beak here. So we're just going to add a few more leaf-like shapes using curves. Just like that curve, but make the curve come to a point. So curve to a point. Curve and to a point again. Little pointy leaves there. There we go. And now we're going to color. So I'm going to use markers to start off. And I'm going to work from top to bottom, left to right, so I don't smear it or smudge it. So I'm taking a green and I'm just tracing around all the leaf shapes. Okay, so that's everything on top of the bird outlined with a green marker. Now you could use a green crayon, you could use a green marker, colored pencil, oil pastel, whatever you have at home to color with is fine. Just make sure that you outline all these leaves in green. Now I'm going to show you a trick now using watercolor. Use a lot of water in the yellow. And we're going to use the yellow only to paint in the leaves. Watch this. When I use my watery yellow watercolor and I put it right on top of that green marker, look what happens. makes like a nice lime green. Isn't that nice? So I'm just kind of like making sure I use a lot of water in the yellow, and then I'm painting inside the leaf, and the marker outline bleeds or blends in with the water and creates this new color. And I like the way it looks, so I'm going to keep doing that and try to stay in the lines if you're painting. I just did all of it really fast. Did you see that? I have this on speedy, but you guys can take your time. So you're filling in all the leaves the same way with the yellow if you have it, or just color it in with green, whatever green you might have. Okay, I'm going to now do the flowers, and I'm going to outline the flowers with a red, and you can do any color you like, but I would suggest to use a warm color like red, orange, or yellow to do your flowers, because we're going to make the background with cool colors, and we want these flowers to really pop. So I would use your brighter pink, red, orange, or yellow if you have it. Now notice I did my outline first with orange and red. Now I'm going to do that same little trick with the yellow, the watery yellow. I'm going to blend it right into my red marker, and it's changing into this cool color. This nice, well, it's not a cool color, it's a warm color. So I'm now switching to the red, and I am painting in all the petals with my red, and you could again use yellow or orange, or you could blend it and mix it all up. And what I meant to say was, it looks cool. It really does. When you put the red around the marker, it blends it all together. So you see I have red, oranges, and yellows all mixing up in this flower coloring here. And there we have it. So my flowers are good. Now, we're going to work from back to front, meaning all this negative space in the background, we're going to paint first before we get to paint the toucan or paint the bird. So I have this on fast speed, but you'll take your time. So I'm going to use blue for my background, or blue in all this negative space here. But if you want to use a different cool color, you could use blue, purple, green, black. Any of those colors I think would look pretty nice. So I'm using blue, but again, if you want to use purple, go for it. And if you don't have watercolors like this, please use whatever you have at home. It could be a crayon, marker, colored pencil, as long as you're getting creative at home and giving these projects a try. So I'm going from the top of my picture to the bottom, and I'm making sure not to touch the leaves too much, because I don't want my leaves to start bleeding and blending in with the blue. So you do have to be careful to go around your leaves. Now at a certain point, after I get about halfway down my paper with the blue, I'm going to change to green. So I'm going to do blue, and then I'm going to switch to green. And I'm going to put the green all around these leaves. All around. Carefully. And I'm holding my brush just like a pencil. Make sure when you're holding a paintbrush, you hold it like a pencil, like you would a pencil. And that will give you more control over what you're painting. So you see how I'm now switched to green. And underneath the branch, I'm also painting green for all that negative space. Okay, now I'm going to switch to marker. My painting is dried a bit. I let it dry so that way I could go into the bird now with just markers. And if you notice why, it's because markers will give you a bright color and more control. So I'm using yellow first because I like to use the light colors first and then my dark colors. So I'm using yellow in half of the beak and yellow for the under part of the beak. Now I'm going to switch to my black. Notice the eye has a white spot and the top of this bird's head is black. So take your black. If you have a marker, great. If you have a crayon, you could do a black crayon or black colored pencil. And notice that I am going to very carefully now fill in the toucan's body with black. Now you could also fill this in with a black paint if that's better or faster for you. But I like the solid color of this marker, so I'm going to continue with marker. And again, I let this painting dry before I started using markers. Make sure you do that because markers and water, sometimes you don't want them to mix. Only at times when you really want them to mix should they be mixing. I am coloring in the tail completely solid black. Completely solid black. There we go. And notice I did paint the bottom there green. Okay. Now, the red part. The tip of the beak is red, so I'm using a red marker to fill it in. Fill that in, stay in the lines. Nice and bright. Now, with my blue, I'm going to outline the shape that's around the eye, just with the blue outline. And I'm going to outline the little feet with my blue marker as well. I'm not going to fill it in with marker though, because the blue marker is too dark. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of watery blue with my watercolor, and I'm going to make a light blue using watercolor. Look at that. And I'm going to do that in the feet too. And you can go ahead and let the marker bleed into your watery blue. Doesn't that look nice? Okay, we're almost done. All right, so now we're going to take the brown marker. I'm going to fill in the whole branch with brown. I'm going to make sure to make it nice and solid. Fill in your branch. Now, make sure you get in between the little toes, in between the feet, and then the other side. It's looking really tropical, colorful, and notice how the red and the orange really pop against that green and blue in the background. You could also put some purple in your background if you like. We're going to outline the mouth. Just this part of the mouth is fine. And maybe a little bit right there. Oh, it's beautiful. Look at that. So there you have it. And if you try it, post it on Google Classroom so I can see it. Thanks, guys.